everyone, I'm Mary Lou, announced the new girl to the class. As she stood smiling, I was probing for any signs of nervousness, as I'm sure I would have been on my first day at school. But quite the contrary, she appeared confident and even excited. Being the shortest in my class, I am somewhat low on confidence, though I make up with brain power, being a straight A student all through. Back to the new girl though, I was amazed by her demeanor. Maybe now we had some hope against the class bullies, John Johnson and his lackeys, Thomas Miller and Charles Davies, who were making school stressful for the rest of us. And they reserved special attention for me and my best friend, Michael Brown, the thinker. Probably because both of us, short and smart, were the polar opposites to their tall and dumb selves. Haha, they hated our guts and we reciprocated. Thankfully, so far we had managed to give them the slip every time they cornered us. But who could say how long our luck would last? Maybe Mary Lou was the shot in the arm we were looking for. My thoughts were broken when a shrill cry rang through the air. Looking up, I was aghast to see the same Mary Lou in tears, sobbing loudly as she tripped walking back to her seat many rows behind me. John's foot was sticking out from his desk and his band of bullies laughed loudly. Our homeroom teacher, Miss Susan Wilson, was furious and marched the trio to the principal's office for a well-deserved detention. At the same time, I looked back helplessly at Mary, not knowing how to make her feel better. Some time passed and order was restored to our class, minus John, Thomas and Charles. As the bell rang, I walked over and introduced myself and we bonded over our love for books and basketball. She was taller than even John Johnson, the tallest boy in our class, and was an avid player of the game. A couple of periods rolled by and it was soon time for lunch. At the cafeteria, I usually hang out with Michael, but today we accommodated Mary. Michael is not into sports at all, but he loves to read, and the two hit it off over books. Both discovered the nerd in each other, and it was indeed quite refreshing to see a girl not indulging in girly talk like others in the class. A few days went by. Mary had settled in, even making friends with Nancy, Betty, and Lisa, though she mostly hung out with us. On one particularly unremarkable day, as Miss Susan was handing out science assessments to the class, the trio of John, Charles, and Thomas, decidedly out of their depth, stared blankly at the questions, turning the sheets over and over as if reading a second time would give them the answer. 10 minutes in, when everyone was furiously scribbling away, they started whispering and gesturing to attract Michael's attention.
Hey, Michael.
They wanted to cheat right under the teacher's nose. Now, Michael is someone who, given an option, will do the right thing in the moment, even at the risk of self-harm a few hours later. So he, in turn, covered his answers even better. It was not a great survival strategy, we found out, as it got the bullies worked up. But Michael kept his focus, finished his test and handed it back to the teacher. The utter defiance enraged them even more, as they moved their fists in the air menacingly, like they would crack his skull. I was terrified, as was the rest of us. During lunchtime, both Michael and I had no appetite for food. We were nervously munching when Mary joined us and blurted, "So, how was it?" That did not register with either of us, so she asked again, "Guys, did you ace it?" When I blurted, "Fist me cheek, no good," which is when she realized the scrambled state of her minds. Memories from her first day came rushing back and her face turned red. After a momentary silence, she announced, "We will not cow down. Who is scared of bullies? We will fight them together." That was a grandiose announcement, but a little to calm us down, I asked, "How are we going to give them the slip?" I remembered this one time they were looking for me after school. I had concealed myself in the music room and mustered the courage to come out only 2 hours later when I was sure they had given up. She said from now on there was no hiding, that we will all stick together and rather than evading them, face them head on. A bewildered look occupied our faces, but since no one had a better plan, we decided to run with it. After school, all three of us huddled together and started walking. We had barely gotten past the main gate when John, Thomas, and Charles blocked our path with their bikes. John let his bike fall to the ground and approached us, laughing and pumping his fist into his palm. Both Michael and I were quivering like a leaf inside, but were rooted to our spot in fear. Our legs refused to move, and cool beads of sweat streamed down the backs of our neck when suddenly Mary stepped in front of the both of us with a "Stop right there!" John, not used to having any kids stand up to him, much less a girl, was taken aback. But a few moments later, he collected himself, narrowed his eyes, and cocked his arm to land a punch on Mary's face, but stopped his clenched fist just short of her nose, sputtering, "Don't for a second think you can get away with this. I can catch you else any time, remember that." Turned around and left us. Michael and I failed to process what just happened. Why did events turn around so swiftly? When in our heads we were imagining broken teeth just a few moments ago. Eventually, Mary spoke, and "They are cowards. We just have to stick together and stand up to them. Watch as they scamper away when we are not afraid. Believe in yourself." That was one too many lessons for a day, which had started off on a rather slow note.